Hey, the lesson for do you want to improve your life? It came to me one morning. I was thinking about this for a long time. But you can ask Eunice. One morning I said, the whole sequence has come into my mind. Let me jump up and write it down before that impression escapes. I see some people nodding. They know what that's like. You get an impression from God, you better write it down. You better document it somehow, because that impression can go away. So, personal development for success. Personal development for success. I found that there's a sequence. No matter what you're trying to improve in, there's normally a sequence. And there's also a principle that if I'm going to improve, there's a direct correlation between loving the truth and improving your life. Because if you don't love the truth, you're going to lie about who you are. You're going to say, I'm not so bad, it's the other person's fault. I've done my best, and so that's good enough. But when we recognize the truth, we say, hey, I've made a mistake. Let me make an improvement. Let me have some more development for my personal development for success. So the lesson aim is to unpack and understand the process. This is a process of personal development and apply these principles to our lives. So number one, personal growth has a direct correlation to our love for truth. I don't know if we have somebody here with a Bible, but we'll find one. If they don't, we'll just struggle through until they find one. We only grow as much as we are willing to see ourselves without running away. And the Bible verse says in James 1:23 and 24, anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like someone who looks at his face in a mirror. After looking at himself, he goes away and immediately forgets who he was. Okay, so if I come over here, I glance into the mirror, I see something I don't like. I catch a vision of something I don't like about myself. Maybe I've been rude to somebody. Maybe I've got bitterness in my heart. Maybe my relationships with other people aren't so good. When I'm relating with other people, and that's part of personal development, is becoming aware of how other people are responding to us. So let's just use Eunice, and let's just say I've related to Eunice and she went silent. Okay? So now what's the problem? I stop and I look at myself and it's because I was harsh. But I run away and I forget about it. Because I don't want to face that part of myself. I don't want to say I'm the one who caused her to go silent because I was harsh. I didn't create a safe space for her to have a voice. Now you remember from prior training, when we talk about trust, the first element, probably the most important element of trust, is to believe that I have a voice. So when a child is born into a good environment and the child has a need, what happens? They cry. When they cry, if they're in a good environment, somebody comes and takes care of their needs. That teaches the child that I have a voice. So when we're in personal development, we find out that if somebody's not communicating to me, am I allowing them to communicate? Am I building trust? Am I speaking my heart and then encouraging them to share their heart? If not, the trust can go down. My consulting coach has a new book out. I'm very anxious to read it. When I get back to the U.S., I'll order it. It's called The Trust Window. And he said, people are reading us constantly. Am I making an impact? If I want to talk to Ann, is she getting me? If she doesn't get it, if I can tell that she's more focused on herself, I'm probably still going to smile and nod at her, but the trust window has gone shut. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so personal growth It's here in James 1, 23 and 24. Kipchumba, you can read that one.
Waraka wa Yakobo mstari wa 23 inasema ya kwamba kwa sababu mtu akiwa ni msikizaji wa neno tu wala si mtendaji, inasema ya kwamba kwa sababu mtu akiwa ni msikizaji wa neno tu wala si mtendaji, mtu huyu ni kama mtu anayejiangalia uso wake katika kioo. Maana hujiangalia kisha kwenda zake, mara akasahau jinsi alivyo.
Thank you for reading that. Number 2, there are several steps to personal development which include self-awareness, self-development, and self-mastery. This is a process. So, self-awareness, number 3, the ability to recognize our thought patterns, core beliefs, values, and emotional triggers, and the effect they have on you and those around you. When you see a breakdown in your relationships, do you reflect on your actions and reactions, or do you assign blame? So we're visiting with someone, and we see that they have a negative reaction. Do I reflect on what I said and what they said, and then what we could have done differently, or do I just say that's a stupid person, they've reacted so badly, what I said was good, they just didn't understand me. So self-awareness is always the first step of personal development. And as we go through this lesson, I think you'll understand that more and more. Supposing you are competing in a bicycle race, and you think you're a really good rider, but you come in last. Self-awareness says, why did I come in last even though I thought I was a good rider? So you have to become aware of the mistakes. Now, a mistake, let me break that down. Wayne Dyer said a mistake is when I just say that the decision that I made is not working. Maybe it was the best decision I knew how to make at the time because I didn't have more information. But that's why you're here today, is so that you can get better information, so you can make better decisions, so you can have a better life. And so a mistake is just simply saying that what I was doing was not working. Maybe it's a relationship with your children. Maybe it's a relationship with your parents. Maybe it's a relationship with your boss. Maybe it's a relationship with your coworkers. And you come to realize it's not working. Let me change. Let me become aware of why it's not working, and then develop better methods, develop better habits, develop better thought patterns. Because everything starts in our mind, and our thoughts become our attitudes. If I continually think that Kipchumba is a really great guy, and I'm thinking about that, then it becomes my attitude, and then when he does something right, I say, thank you so much, you're a great guy, Kipchumba, and he feels happy, and he keeps improving, and then that becomes a spirit. Until now, if he makes a mistake, does he have fear to come and talk to me? No, because he knows that I believe he's a great guy, and he's doing his best. Now, and that's how a good relationship works. We focus on what we like about the other person. I like Pastor Obed because of certain things. I don't focus on the things that he can't do because that's not his strength. Okay? I don't focus on his weaknesses because I know him to be a man of God. He's working on his weaknesses. Maybe in the privacy of his own heart, he's feeling very sad that he hasn't reached where he thinks he should. But for me, I respect him for what he's doing. But when the other thing happens, Alex, is that your name? Alex. Supposing now I think Alex is a very bad guy, which I don't. I like Alex. But I have this in my mind. Oh, I can see Alex is making a mistake again. Pretty soon it becomes an attitude. Well, he's just always that way. And pretty soon it becomes a spirit. When I come into the room, Alex feels my spirit. He feels my energy. And so his energy comes down because he said, I can never do anything right. Okay, it's actually the opposite. When I come in there, we enjoy each other, and he's making chapatis, and I compliment him, and he's doing a great job. But you see what I'm saying? Whatever you focus on grows. So if you focus on the good parts of other people, they grow. Eunice was talking about stewardship, and I'm looking forward to more lessons from Ann, because there's stewardship of time, there's stewardship of talents, there's so many different aspects, and I think she's thought about it a lot. So I'm sure there'll be more lessons on stewardship. But even our children, it's like Eunice said, our children are not ours. We are stewards over them. And so when you have a small baby that's 3 or 4 years old and they're acting out and they're doing bad things, they need to be taught no. And if they don't listen to no, there has to be some pain, because at 3 or 4 it's not a big deal, but they're very soon they're 14 and 15, and then they're 18 and 20. If they haven't learned no, then you're going to have a big problem. So that's one of the most important things with Kipchumba. He's got 2 little girls. When he tells them no, they need to learn to stop. And so here's the deal. They're putting their hand up on the hot stove. You tell them no. And they just look at you. They put their hand there. What's going to happen? They're going to get burnt. So before they have that great pain, give them some small pain, so that when you tell them no, they don't get burned. Because life will burn you, let me tell you, if you don't learn the word no. Because somebody can come along and say, no, don't do that. And you've done it several times, but what you don't know is something has changed. So maybe we're traveling down a road, and somebody flags us down. They said, no, don't take this road anymore. I've taken this road many times. I'll take this road today if I want to. So we're driving down this road, and it's dark, and what we don't realize is the bridge is washed out. So then you have a calamity, down into the water, because you didn't listen to no. So no is very important. So self-awareness is the ability to recognize our thought patterns. How many of you have thought about your thought patterns? Or is that a new thought? No, some people have thought about their thought patterns. Now, Wayne Dyer said, let go of your personal history. You don't need your personal history anymore, because it's in the past. Focus on where you're going. Focus on who you want to become. And so you can't just lay it down, because it's your life story. You can't just lay it down and say, I forget about it. But you embrace your past. You say, what has happened to me was necessary for me to become the person I am now. Thank you, God, for my past, but it no longer drives me. How many of you have seen a boat, like in a video, and behind it there's the wave, the small, they call it a wake. You know what I'm talking about? When the boat's going through the water, behind it, there's a wave coming this way and a wave coming this way. They call it the wake. Okay, is the wake driving the boat? No. It's a result of the boat going through the water. Your past is not driving you, unless you allow it to continue to go round and round and round in your brain. Your past, the wake back there, is just a result of who you were, the direction that you were going. Let it go. It's in the past. Start focusing on becoming the person that God wants you to be. Find the purpose that God wants you, the reason He created you. And then focus on that. And when those thoughts, when those inspirations come to your mind, capture them. The other day I was writing in my diary, and Eunice said, what are you writing? I was in Uganda. We were talking on the phone. I said, I'm writing some of my life goals. I said, from time to time, we need to do that. I have short-term goals, intermediate goals, and long-term goals, because it determines the direction of your life. And so, self-awareness. Where am I now? Can I let go of the negative of the past? Can I focus on where I want to be in 5 years? How many of you have thought recently, where do you want to be in 5 years? That's good, that's good. That's very good. It's going to propel you to change your behavior so that in 5 years you're in a better place than you are now. Number 4, self-development is developing ourselves for better external results. Part of maturing is developing skills that add value to ourselves and to the world around us. Self-development starts very early. Our parents teach us how to put on our clothes. They teach us how to feed ourselves. Do we do a good job when we first start? Not so good. No, there's food everywhere. Sometimes the clothes are on inside out. But as you begin to develop, you improve your skills. Then you start going to school. And then you start learning skills. Self-development is for external. Then we learn to ride a bicycle. You learn how to balance. When you're first riding, you're not so good. You run into things. You're not very fast. And somebody said, okay, so let me give you a hint. Don't look at the ruts in the road. Don't look at the stones. Look at the smooth part. And when you look at the smooth part, that's where your bicycle goes. So wherever your eyes go, that's where your bicycle goes. So pretty soon you get a little more confident. You're riding your bike along here. And there's a funny story in the U.S. How many of you have rode bike long enough that you can go with no hands? Can you go no hands? I got to where I had a very good bicycle in the U.S. I could ride for 7 miles with no hands. Yeah, I went down, we made a big block, we made a big circle while I was riding with my children. And it was tar, most of it was tar road. I could go down here, and if I was very careful, I could lean, and turn the corner. Go down here, lean, and turn the corner. But the joke is that there was a little boy who was learning how to ride his bike. He went around the block, and first time around, he came and he said, "Look, Mom, no hands." And so then he got quite bold, and then he put his hands and his feet both out, and he said, "Look, Mom, no feet." And then the last time when he come around, he said, "Look, Mom, no teeth." He fell down, So sometimes in our self-development, we do fall down. But we get back up and we try again. So I've probably had a few crashes myself with no hands, but that's all part of learning, isn't it? So anyway, as we develop, Kibet is the cyber guy. Did he learn how to do everything on the computer at one time? No, of course not. It takes time. It takes a lot of effort. It takes wondering, am I going to be able to master this? Because for me now, I've been trying to do some work on my computer for some business in the U.S., and I've been at it for several days now. And now finally yesterday they told me, well, your portal isn't working. So it's no wonder that I couldn't accomplish it. So they said, we'll send you another link. But that's just the way it is with some things in life. You work and work and work. And there was a friend of mine went to Haiti, and he wanted to do some mission work. And so he was trying to learn the language. And he really, really decided one day, I have the language pretty good. So he wanted to go out and talk to the boy outside playing in the street. So he went out and he says, Matbule. Matbule means, how are you? And the boy just, and he's like, I don't understand a word he's saying. I thought, so he just kept persisting. He kept persisting, He kept persisting with this boy. And he said, finally, I guess I don't know anything. I don't understand a word he's saying. He went back into the house, and his friends were laughing at him. They said, why are you laughing at me? And they said, you're talking to a boy who can't speak. He's deaf and dumb. He just makes noises. He said, okay. So you see, we run into those things from time to time when we're developing new skills. Things happen, and we don't know why they happen, and we get confused. We say, maybe I haven't learned anything. But it could be that it's just time and chance. You have to pursue. You have to keep pressing in. So self-development, once you've learned to ride the bicycle, then you can learn how to ride the motorcycle. Then you can learn to be a boda person. You see how these things, they go up. then you can become more useful, and your wages can go up, and you can develop your own business. Finally, somebody says, you're really good at this, you're very trustworthy, you're good with people, let me loan you some small money, and you have some small money, you can buy your own motorcycle, you can do boda boda. Then later you maybe have a taxi, later you do the next step. And so self-development is very important. Now, the last step is self-mastery. And self-mastery is developing honesty and humility about ourselves for better internal results. Self-development is for external. Self-mastery is for internal. So we develop ourselves internally. We develop honesty and humility about ourselves for better internal results. We recognize and replace toxic thoughts and behaviors with constructive thoughts and behaviors. The faster you let go of past drama, pain, rejection, and disappointment, the faster you are able to move forward in life. That's why we have the proof anthem. I choose to let go of past pains. I choose to let go of past disappointments. I choose to allow God to control my life. I choose to live in forgiveness. I choose to live in love. See, we're letting go. And when you let go of the negative, the toxic, then you have a space for good thoughts to come in. You have a space for constructive and thoughts and attitudes and habits. You know, when we change our thoughts, we can change our habits. And when we change our habits, our life changes. I think we did that. Exercise, but we can do it again. Cross your arms, please. Okay, now look down. Which arm is on top? All right, now go. Now put the other arm on top. You see how difficult that is? It doesn't even feel right, does it? So that's what happens. Maybe we have reacted to certain people in certain ways long enough that Maina doesn't even look comfortable over there. He looks like he's trying to hug himself. Okay, so we've reacted to certain people in certain ways until it becomes comfortable. And then when we become self-aware that this isn't working, maybe you say, okay, so I've made a mistake. It was the best I knew, but now I'm going to learn a new way. So then they try to learn a new way. And it's not easy. It takes intention. Now I have several verses here, and we'll just go through that. Titus 1:15, it says, unto the pure all things are pure, but unto them that are defiled and unbelieving is nothing pure, even their mind and conscience is defiled. You have that one?
Nasema ya kwamba vitu vyote ni safi kwa hao walio safi, lakini hakuna kilicho safi kwao walio wanajisi, wasioamini, bali akili zao zimekuwa najisi na nia zao pia.
Well, Kipchum is finding the next one. I'll break that down. How many of you have even heard of this verse? Have you ever heard of this verse before? Raise your hand if you've heard of it. There's a few people. But let me break that down. Unto the pure, all things are pure. But unto those who are defiled, nothing is pure. And so, we've got a guy who's interested in plants. When Joseph Lamar and I were in Uganda, there were some ladies pulling a vine, and he said, what are you going to do with that? And they said, we're going to eat it. And he said, oh, I've never seen that one. Can you give me a leaf? And so they gave him a leaf, and then he took it back to the hotel where he stays, and he was going to ask that lady, now which leaf is this? Do we have it in Kenya? But if someone saw him who was a witch doctor, they saw him carrying this leaf, they said, oh, yeah, I know what he's doing with that one. He's going to cast a spell on somebody, you see? And so to a pure person who sees Lamai carrying this leaf, they say, oh, what are you carrying this leaf for? And they allow him to have his voice. And he said, I've never seen this one before, but they're eating it in Uganda. Do we have this leaf in Kenya? You see? And so people who are defiled will always see the negative. Oh, I know where he's going. I saw that boy. He went into that store over there, and I know what they buy in that store. You see? I know that they can get drugs. You go talk to a certain person, you go around behind, yeah, I think that's what's happening. That boy doesn't even know they have drugs in that store. So people will reveal their weaknesses. Ah, I know where this man's going. I think he's having an affair. You see? They're revealing what their temptations would be. I think that one's corrupt. I think that one's stealing money. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to be naive and stupid, because a lot of people are doing a lot of wrong things. But we don't focus on the negative. We don't focus on what they might be doing wrong. Because what happens then, in some cases, supposing you have a child and you're always telling him the bad things that he's done. Finally, it's like, okay, I might as well do it, because mom's expecting that of me anyway. You see? But if you're focusing on the good things, you tell him, and it's like, I was listening to Wayne Dyer the other day, and he said, sometimes it's challenging with your children to find good things to compliment, because they're children. But when we focus on those good things, and we help that part grow, I've thought about this deeply, and I really think a child needs to be told as often what they've done right or maybe more often than what they've done wrong. Because if you only tell them what they've done wrong, they don't know what to do the right thing. You see? And finally they can say, there's nothing I can do that's right. I might as well just give up. I might as well just do everything wrong, because I've never done anything right. My parents aren't happy with me, and I don't know what to do the right thing. So we need to compliment them when they do the right thing. Now, we'll go to the next verse, which tells you what happens when people have assumptions. You people here in Kenya use the word assume a little different than we do. In U.S., when you assume, you suspect. And so, if I assume that this guy over here is, okay, let me say, we don't see people as they are until we become self-aware. Until we learn self-mastery. We don't see them as they are, we see them as we are. So if I have a tendency in my heart towards corruption, and I see this guy doing something, and I say, okay, I think he's doing corruption. Why? Because I know that's what I would be doing if I was in that situation. Okay, you take a man who especially likes women. He sees another man go into a shop, and he sees him go behind into the other part of the shop, and the shopkeeper is showing him, I have the medicine, but you have to come into the other part to show me which one you need. It's like Lamai. Lamai gets malaria a lot. And so he has to find a stronger medication. And so the shopkeeper says, okay, Lamai, come into the other part. I have a storage. You can show me all the kinds of medication that haven't worked. Now, we'll find one that can work for you. Now he comes back out of that storage area, and somebody's watching him. They say, oh, I know what he's doing in there. Yep. Them two are having an affair. Yep, I know it. Because that's what he would have been doing. You see? So, let me read you the next verse here, Proverbs 25, 18 and 19. Telling lies about others is as harmful as hitting them with an axe. How many of you would go hit somebody with an axe? Nobody. But how many of you would suspect that maybe somebody's doing the wrong thing and tell their neighbor, tell me, you know what I think? I think this guy's doing something. Now, we might have all been guilty of that one. I think so. We have all been guilty of that one. But when you put it in the context of hitting them with an axe, we say, let me stop that. Wounding them with a sword or shooting them with a sharp arrow. Do you want to do that? Your words are like sharp arrows. They can really wound people. Putting confidence in an unreliable person in times of trouble is like chewing with a broken tooth or walking on a lame foot. You don't want to become an unreliable person because people can't trust in you. Give to me, you can read those, Proverbs 25.
Ya, inasema mtu amshuhudiaye jirani yake uongo ni nyundo na upanga na mshale mkali. Kumtumaini asiye mwaminifu wakati wa taabu ni kama jino lililovunjika au miguu iliyoteguka.
Okay, the next verse is Romans 3:10. As it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. And there's another verse, somebody might know where it is. It says something like, if you say you have no sin, the truth is not in you. You know which one I'm talking about, Pastor Robin? What? 1 John? Yeah. Okay, so there is none righteous. The only one righteous is Jesus and God. And so if we say, I have no sin, I have no mistakes, basically what you're saying is I don't need to improve my life. There's nothing that I've done that is wrong. Let me just keep on doing what I'm doing. But look at the result. Do you have good relationships with people? Because mostly that's where it shows up. When you have a pure heart up in this part, and you have affirmation of God, and you have trust, your predominant emotional state is the state of trust, optimism, then people will gravitate to you. They want to be around you. And even in times of trouble, they'll come and say, you know what, I've got this problem. Somebody said something about me that it was a lie, and it's really wounded me. What can we do? And so we become like a counselor, and we say, okay, is it the truth? No, it's not the truth. Okay, so just let it go. Let God reveal the truth in His time. But if they maybe say, well, it's not the truth, but I've had that temptation. Well, it's okay. I mean, we all have a temptation. How many of you have never been tempted with something? Everybody's been tempted with something. And so you help people sort it out. You say, I was tempted, but I didn't do it. Okay, then you're okay. Well, now I was tempted and I did it. Okay, so how are we going to work our way through that one? But you don't go to an untrustworthy person to talk about those things over, because they can, in turn, use that against you in the future. But do you remember when you did the wrong thing? So I don't know if I added that verse, but I was thinking about King David. And you remember King David had some really high points in his life. He had some really low points. And so I read a statement the other day that says, making a mistake isn't always a sin. Refusing to correct your mistake is where the sin comes in. So King David made a big mistake. He seemed like he didn't even know that he made the mistake, until the prophet come along and said, and gave him the story and said, this is what this certain person did. And then King David said, oh, that's terrible wrong. That man should be, disciplined. And the prophet said, you're the man. Oh, I'm the man. How did I do that? And so then he explained to him, and then he repented. He didn't refuse to correct the mistake. So there are times when we look on, maybe I look on at Lamai and I say, wow, that guy has really sinned. But Lamai, it's just normal. His father did it, his grandfather did it, his uncles did it. It's the culture. And so then I come up with a story and I go and say to Lamai, this is what happened. And oh, he said, that's not right. And I said, but you did it. I did it? When did I do it? You see? Well, you did it here and here and here. Oh, well, let me change my ways. So when we refuse to correct our mistake is a lot of times where the real sin comes in. We refuse to improve our life. Because prior to that, we're not accountable. Now, is anybody in here perfect? Okay, that tells me you're still making mistakes. Okay? Are you ever going to be perfect on this side of heaven? No. We're always going to make mistakes. So when we become aware of the mistake, that's the time to start working on it. Now, does it immediately change? We become aware of this mistake and now suddenly we never make the mistake again. No, that's just not how it works. Because we have habits and we have ways of relating to people. And so, but we become aware of it and we begin to intentionally change what we're doing, what we're saying, how we're reacting to people, our thought patterns, our habits. Okay, you can read that verse there.
Inasema ya kwamba kama ilivyoandikwa kwa ya kwamba hakuna mwenye haki hata mmoja.
As it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. Number 6, the process of self-mastery is lifelong. Those who start this process of personal development will notice benefits and will continue. How many of you have started the journey of personal development? Come on, I should see more hands than that. Have you noticed an improvement in your life? Yes. So, that's what encourages you to keep on. It encourages you to say, I've overcome this weakness in my life, let me overcome the next weakness. Because we all have weaknesses. Okay, so the process of self-mastery is lifelong, but once we start that, now, I've talked about self-awareness, which is the first step. I need to be aware of where I've made a mistake. Self-development. I need to add more skills. Maybe I've done certain things a certain way, but there's a better way of doing it. And then self-mastery. But this is a process. This all came into my mind one morning when I was laying there in bed. This is a process. Now, some people need a safe space to process things. Are you getting me? You don't need to be in the chaos when you're processing. You need to come apart like Jesus did. You come apart and you sit and you reflect. And you say, why is my child doing X, Y, Z? Is there something about me that's triggering them? Is there something about me that makes them feel like they're not good enough? Is there something about, oh, you know what? When I say a certain thing, they react in a certain way. And so you start to reflect on how you impact other people. And so when we are developing, remember the stages of humanity is the first stage is the child is completely dependent. How do you spell dependent? This is a D. My mind went blank. E-N-T, yeah, dependent. Okay, then we move from that stage of dependency to independent. That's when you're doing your self-development. You're becoming independent. You're learning to tie your shoes. You're learning to ride your bike. You're learning to do skills. Then we want to become interdependent. Interdependent is when we can work with a team. Do I ask Ann to do the things that Pastor Obed is good at? No. I respect her gift, I respect his gift, I respect Eunice's gift, and we become interdependent. We don't try to force people to do things that they don't have the gift for. They don't have that talent for that. But when we have inner chaos, we project that chaos to everybody else. That's down here in the pride area. We become antagonistic. We become vengeful. We become aggressive. But when you start to operate out of faith, and God says, don't do that one, do this one, and you have fear. Always when God opens a door, there's a threshold of fear to step over. And somebody told me the other day, God inspired me to do something, and I was almost shaking. But when I did it, when I opened that door, God opened the door for me. And so then you get up in here in courage, and you start finding yourself walking in a way that you know that you're accepted by God. You know that you're walking in faith. And you know that you're not perfect. But you even accept that way. You accept the fact that I'm not going to be perfect until I get on the other side. I'm going to continue this process of personal development, becoming self-aware. What's the first step of personal development? Let's go through this. It's so important. First step, self-awareness. The second step, self-development. The third step, self-mastery. So always, always, always there's a process. I become aware. And then I begin to develop more skills. And then I begin to master my inside, my spirit, so that I can improve. There's a process. But in the process, most people need a safe space. I originally thought everybody did, but I did some study on it, and they said some people can actually improve themselves amidst the chaos. They have that kind of a brain that it doesn't matter if I'm in chaos, I can still make some adjustments. Okay, but for the person who is in a bad situation and can't get out of it, I think Nelson reminded me of that this morning. He said, you sang a song here, you were sheltered. And I said, oh yeah, under his wings. So we can find the safe space even when we're in the chaos. It's under the wings of God. So even though there's chaos around us, we can say, God help me to improve my life. I don't know how to do this. We have so much chaos. And God will put you under his wings. And you will find a safe space. You can find a safe space, even in chaos. And when you find that safe space, God can inspire you. The neural loop can quit spinning because you insert faith. Your mind is spinning. How do I fix this problem? How do I fix this relationship? How do I come up with enough money to pay my bills? But as your mind is spinning, then you know the neural loop is trying to close. It's trying to connect. You can close that neural loop by putting faith in there. I'm going to put my faith in God. God has an answer for me. It might not be immediate, but it will bring me to a desired end. So when we put our faith in God, the other song that came to me, they need a safe space to process. Some are able to develop amidst the chaos. And then what a friend we have in Jesus. You know that song? All our sins and griefs to bear. And then this line, Jesus knows our every weakness. Take it to the Lord in prayer. So when we're developing, we spend time in prayer. And every day we're developing. We spend time in prayer. Recently somebody told me, I've prayed over that one in my life many, many times. When you are in that place of knowing that I have weaknesses, knowing that I'm working with my weaknesses, then we give grace to the other people. I say, Lamaya's got some weaknesses, but I know he's praying over it. I accept him just like he is, because I know he's in the process. I don't condemn him for making mistakes. I respect him because I know he's trying. Okay? But if you've never got to that point of self-analysis where you recognize that I make mistakes, I need to improve, then you can be very harsh with the other people. You say they should do better, they should do like me. And incidentally, that goes into religion. How many people say, they quote the Bible verse, few there be that will find it. Narrow is the way and few there be that will find it. Is it always the other people who are finding it? No, it's always me who's finding it. You see what I mean? Few there be that find it. How many people believe in hell for themselves? No, I'm under God's grace. I know I've done some wrong things. I'm not the one going to hell. It's Maina because he doesn't believe like me. You see? So they don't believe in hell for themselves. They believe in hell for the other person because he's not thinking like they think. What? Yeah, self-righteousness. But I think we're all a little bit tainted with that one from time to time. We wonder why people do what they do. And it's interesting. I forgot who I was telling the other day. I really, really immersed myself in the African culture. But it brings turmoil. It brings turmoil to my mind because it's so different than the culture that I come out of. But I say, let me go through this and experience this. You see what I mean? Let me go to these churches where I'm not comfortable. I remember, Eunice didn't go this time. It was a long time ago. I stood in the doorway. The music was so loud, it was hurting my ears. I just stood in the doorway. And sometimes I stepped out until they were done with the music. And then I came in and spoke. People are laughing at me back there. I'm just not used to it. I have a little hard of hearing, and it just bothers my ears, okay? So, but I continue to do this. I say, this is the culture. One day it dawned on me. The drums started beating at 4 a.m. I said, why in the world are they beating the drums at 4 a.m.? All right, it's a call to worship. Later I found out there's a certain way to beat the drums, and people know that there's going to be a religious service here today. But for me, I hadn't gone to bed until midnight, and then the drums woke me up at 4, and I'm like, I don't understand this. Why are they beating the drums? But I'm sensitive, and I noticed there was a harshness about the music. After the service, even the music changed. It was very soft. It was very inviting. And so the spirit had changed. So when I know from experience that when you try to do something different from what you've always done, it's going to make you uncomfortable. And your brain is going to say, because it feels uncomfortable, it's not safe. You better not do that. You've experienced that, haven't you? Okay, so we don't condemn ourselves. We go through that experience until we become, and we read in the Bible and we say, I think this is the heart of God. What I've been doing hasn't worked. I can see by the results that it's not working. Maybe I've been too harsh with my child. Maybe I've had expectations for them. Okay, just comes to my mind now. Samson married the Philistine lady, is that right? And the Bible said his parents begged him not to do that, but they said they wist not that this was God's plan. They didn't know that this was supposed to happen so that more enemy could be killed. They didn't know that. So they're like, no, you can't do this. This is wrong. You can't marry that woman. But God's telling him to marry her. Now, who's the other one? The prophet who married the harlot? Hosea. Yeah, I'm sure people said, what are you doing? Have you lost your mind? This is ridiculous. This woman's a harlot. You're going to marry that? You're a prophet. How are you going to do this? But through that, he gained the insight that this is how God is always being with us. He's always bringing us back. He always loves us no matter what. Even though we go astray, he wants us to come back. And so there was a special grace with that. I'm going to call it a mission. Because they even had children together. And they named them certain names. I can't remember the exact meanings right now. But they had certain specific meanings. And so we don't know always why the other person is doing what they're doing. We don't know why, but it could be part of their process of personal development. It's allowing something to come to the surface of their life so that they can say, now I can see that what I've done is the wrong thing. Now you could say, I've seen that for years and years and years. Why don't you see it? Well, it wasn't my time to see it yet. And so what happens when there's maize out there and it's not ready to harvest? What happens if you go pluck it off? What happens? You spoil it. So if Kipchumba is going through a phase in his life and I come and pluck it off and say, you can't do that, I've just spoiled him. Because it hasn't come to the proper fruit yet. So in those situations, we have to be very sensitive. Spend a lot of time in prayer. And maybe there's been times when I have given people personal examples. I've said, you know, Kipchumba, when I was young, about your age, I was doing this and that. Oh, really? You did that thing? And I knew immediately. He doesn't know what he's doing. You see what I said? See what I mean? So it's not the time yet. Now, when he says, yes, I've started to notice I'm doing those things too. And I say, it doesn't normally come to a good ending. Just let me give you my personal testimony. It doesn't come to a good ending. And he says, oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, then I need to change my way. But we can't force someone else to become personally aware. It just doesn't work. They're not seeing it yet. And so we pray for them that God will open their eyes. We don't try to force them to change. Because the only person I can change is myself. I can't change anybody else. Humility. Number 7. Humility is honesty about our disabilities. How many of you want to admit your disabilities? I don't see many hands. Nobody wants to admit their disabilities. Or not very many. There's a few of us old guys. We're used to it by now. We can admit we have some disabilities. But most people don't want to admit their disabilities. Humility is just saying, that's not for me. I can't do that one. That's a weak area. I had a guy told me the other day, he said, I've done a lot of personal development, but he said, there's some things I just have to stay away. You see? He said, if I get into that situation, he said, I just turn around and walk away. Because he said, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to become upset. I'm going to yell at somebody. He said, it's better for me. I haven't got to that point yet where I can have a conversation with somebody who's abusive and keep my cool. So he said, it's better just to walk away. And so in life, sometimes that's what we need to do. Somebody's talking to us, we say, have a good day. Bye. Okay? So that's humility. Recognizing that I can't handle that one very good. Number 8, to be free, you must be moral. Now, comes a quote from a counselor friend of mine in the U.S. He said that doesn't necessarily only include morality as in sexual sins. It means be moral as in treat people justly. Create win-win relationships. If I'm to the point now in my life where if it's not a win-win relationship, I don't want it. If you're winning and I'm losing, I don't want it. If I'm winning and you're losing, I don't want it. Because it's not going to last. If we're both winning, it's okay. That's moral. Now, Ann's involved in Seltzer, and that is moral integrity. She is helping people who don't have a voice. Some people don't have a voice. Remember, I put that on the screen there. Maybe because they've never been given a voice. Some people, it's because their voice has been taken away. Those kinds of people who are being oppressed, stronger people can give them a voice. That is being moral. That's helping the oppressed. That's always in God's heart, to help the oppressed. So morality means treat yourself like you want, treat others like you want them to treat you. Win-win relationships. And know that you are a net gain to the universe. There's people who say, I'm doing nothing wrong, but they're not doing anything right. You see, they're small, like a small child. They're dependent. They want you to feed them. They want you to clothe them. They want you to do everything. He said, I haven't done anything wrong. But they haven't done anything right. They're not a net gain to the universe. They haven't even become independent yet, let alone interdependent. Interdependent is when we begin to work as a team, which is what we're doing here. Some of you people have organized for the other class to start. You have your own program. You know who's going to teach next week. I don't even know all that. But it's okay because I don't have to know that. You can do that. You're big people now. And then when I'm gone, this thing will just continue on. Okay? Like if I'm gone to Uganda, if Eunice and I go to U.S., it continues on. The crowd doesn't even come down much, if at all. Sometimes it goes up. I think Ann has more viewers on her YouTube than I do on some of mine on proof printing. So I'm proud of her. I hope everybody does. Because mine aren't very high. So anyway, there's a verse for that, Micah 6:8. He has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with our God.
Nasema ya kwamba mwanadamu, yeye amekuonyesha yaliyo mema, na Bwana anataka nini kwako? Ila kutenda haki na kupenda rehema na kwenda kwa unyenyekevu na Mungu wako.
Okay, we're getting close to the end here. To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Number 9. A lot of people think making mistakes is a sin, but a sin can be refusing to learn from our mistakes, refusing to grow. We talked about that a little bit. If somebody refuses to grow, refuses to admit their mistakes, that's where the real sin comes in. Got a couple more points here, and then we'll wrap it up. Isaiah 1:18, King James Version says, Come now, let us reason together, saith the Lord. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool. You can read that.
Nasema ya kwamba, haya njooni tusemezane, asema Bwana. Dhambi zenu zijapokuwa nyekundu sana, zitakuwa nyeupe kama theluji. Zijapokuwa nyekundu kama bendera, zitakuwa kama sufu.
There's kind of like two types of people. There's one kind of person says, I've made so many mistakes that I can't even go forward. And so they don't have courage to start the path of personal development. There's another kind of person who sees themselves as better than they are. They said, I haven't made so many mistakes. And so they don't move forward because they can't see the mistakes that they've made that need improvement. Number 10, in the end, all we have is our soul. So guard it well. So when you're in the transition, when your life has been snuffed out here and you're traveling to heaven, what do you take with you? Only your soul. So ask yourself now, when you're involved in a relationship, working with people, is this good for my soul? You want to do something to make more money? Will this be good for my soul? You want to get involved in some sort of a business, but it's a little bit shady. You're going to have to tell some lies. Is this good for my soul? And that can be a guiding star for us in personal development. And the verse for that is Philippians 1:6. I am certain that God, who has begun the good work within you, will continue his work until it is finally finished on the day when Christ Jesus returns. When we connect with God and he starts this work, he will finish it. It might be on your last day of your life. All of a sudden something will come to your mind and you'll say, you know what, I've made that mistake all my life. God, please forgive me. Does that make sense? Do we have confidence? Do I have confidence that God is working in Eunice? Yes. Is she a perfect lady? No. She can't be perfect on this side. I accept her the way she is. The same with me. We have to put some things into the hands of God. We say, God, I know you're working with my friend. I know you're working with my spouse. I thank you for that. I still see a need. I know you see that need. But maybe I'm the one causing the reaction. So if I'm causing the reaction, help me to change so that they don't have this negative reaction. Does that make sense to you? That's becoming self-aware. And that's personal development. And when that happens, your life improves. You have that verse, Katrina?
Inasema ya kwamba nami niliaminilo ndilo hili, ya kwamba yeye aliyeanza kazi njema mioyoni mwenu ataimaliza hata siku ya Kristo Yesu.
How many of you have started the path with Jesus? Let me see your hands. I think everybody has. How many of you believe that he's helped you along the way? Thank you. Thank God for that. And how many of you believe that God is able to bring you to his desired end? God bless you. That's wonderful. Thank God.